It is up to all of us to fix this.
Amidst the chaos and confusion that is the Trump administration, it's sometimes hard to remember what leadership actually looks like. Trump has been running the country a bit like a spoiled rich kid who's taken over after his dad's retired.
My father gave me a small loan of $1 million.
And we all know that that always turns out well. And it's been such a clusterfuck that it's hard to remember what it was like when things were kind of normal. Back when Obama was president, and the biggest scandal was what kind of mustard did he put on his sandwich.
Cheeseburger, medium well. I just want mustard, no ketchup. If you got like a spicy mustard or something like that, or a Dijon mustard, something like that, Dijon mustard, something like that, or Dijon mustard, something like that.
Things are kind of uncertain right now. It honestly feels like the animals have taken over the farm. So it was nice to hear Obama speak at Hamilton College about what we should all do moving forward. Obama gives an excellent speech about how Trump wants to turn America as corrupt as Russia, and how now is the time to fight back. This is a time of turmoil, and it doesn't exactly look like things are going to get better anytime soon, seeing as we're in our third month of Trump's presidency and things are already melting down. But Obama had some great words about what we all should be doing to maintain our democracy. Before we dive into it, make sure to like the video and double check that you're subscribed. For every like, we'll send 1 jar of Dijon mustard directly to Sean Hannity.
This has to do with something more precious, which is, who are we as a country and what values do we stand for? And now, this is not just an abstraction, and I think this is one of the challenges that we have. And I saw this even before the last election. I think people tend to think, democracy, rule of law, independent judiciary, freedom of the press, that's all abstract stuff because it's not affecting the price of eggs. Well, you know what? It's about to affect the price of eggs. One of the things that has distinguished us in the past has been this basic idea that we are a rules-based society. What that means is that, you know what, I can support one candidate instead of another, and I don't have to worry that the police are going to come harass me or my customers. That's what happens in other places. That's what happens in Russia. We take for granted the idea that we don't have to pay bribes or hire somebody's cousin in order to get a business permit. That's how we built the economy we did. That's why this place worked. And it has very concrete impacts on all of our lives. So, this is the first time I've been speaking publicly for a while. I've been watching a little bit. Yeah. Let me just close this portion of my remarks by saying it is up to all of us to fix this. It's not going to be because somebody comes and saves you. The most important office in this democracy is the citizen, the ordinary person who says, no, that's not right. And I do think one of the reasons that our commitment to democratic ideals has eroded is that we got pretty comfortable and complacent. You know, it has been easy during most of our lifetimes to say you are a progressive, or say you are for social justice, or say you're for free speech, and not have to pay a price for it. And now we're at one of those moments where, you know what, it's not enough just to say you're for something. You may actually have to do something and possibly sacrifice a little bit. So, yeah, if you're a law firm being threatened, you might have to say, okay, we will lose some business because we're going to stand for a principle. If you are a university, you may have to say, figure out, are we in fact doing things right? Have we in fact violated our own values, our own code, violated the law in some fashion? If not, and you're just being intimidated, well, you should be able to say, well, that's why we got this big endowment. We'll stand up for what we believe in, and then we'll pay our researchers for a while out of that endowment, and we'll give up the extra wing or the fancy gymnasium that we can delay that for a couple of years, because academic freedom might be a little more important. For most of human history, and to this day in most of places in the world, there is a cost to challenging the powers that be, particularly if they're abusing that power. This idea, and I've noticed this among some wealthier folks who, after George Floyd, they were right there, and a bunch of companies were talking about how they cared about diversity and they wanted to do this and they were all for that, and they are mute right now. But what that tells me is it was okay when it was cool and trendy, and when it's not so much.
I couldn't agree more with what he's saying. Now is a time to grow a backbone and stop being a coward. In this individualistic society that we've built, every institution is fending for itself, and so far the winning strategy has been keeping your head down and trying not to get picked off. But there is some serious damage coming in the short term, and in the long term, seeing as Trump is pushing away all of our biggest trading partners, it might take decades before we make it back to where we were pre-Trump 2.0. Some institutions are going to have to fight back. So far, people have been paying off Trump's frivolous defamation lawsuits, bowing down to their executive orders, allowing students to get rounded up on their campuses, and abandoning our liberties in the name of comfort. But if you push hard enough, things start to break, and it's a lot harder to stitch things back together than it is to rip them apart. So now would be a great time to put an end to all of this. I'm Tony Hinderman with Really American, and I'll catch you next time.